going though.
Just say super pumped we're arch-enemies now. You and Jack were nemesis, and now that we're fighting, it's like I'm as cool as Handsome Jack. No, it's like a dream.
This guy is Mr. Birch. This is probably Anthony's best character, but it is Anthony.
HSS Terminus with Iridium and research equipment, determined to carry on his will until I crash.
This is Borderlands' Kurtz, and of course he's just like, he wants to be Kurtz is the problem.
Clone Handsome Jack.
He's not actually a badass though. Do you speedrun Borderlands games? Nah, I don't. I just take my time and enjoy them. I mean, I try to be a completionist, and I do play into the end game and farm the end game and shit. But I don't speedrun them. I don't speedrun anything. Like, properly speedrun like those people do, that shit's intense. That shit is a whole fucking different world. I'm not really a huge fan of it, though. It's kind of weird to me. Do you like that stuff, Maltroff? I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, I respect their skill. But it's always just about breaking the fuck out of it, and that's just kind of it. It just ruins it for me. Like, if you watch a Borderlands 2 speedrunner, the thing they always do is run this infinity glitch that still works, and they just end up one-hitting everything for the next 3 hours. Like, the first part of it's really cool, because they can't use any glitches, and they have to really hit their shots and get the right gear, and they know all these ins and outs of the game, and... like, oh, okay, that's pretty sweet. You're actually just really, really good at it. But then when it gets to the point where they're, like, just using all these glitches to fucking morph through the map, and one-hit every enemy with broken stuff, it just gets annoying, and I just feel like, hey, you're not actually really good at it now, you're just using a glitch to run through it. Though I think it's different, you play the same game for 2 years multiple times. If I keep enjoying it, I will eventually 100% the achievements. On the second Borderlands... Claptrap comes back. Something weird that I would need to have explained to me is why there's claptraps on Elpis. Claptrap always says he's the last one in the universe, but in pre-sequel there's still claptraps running around. I understand why they're dead on Pandora, because the claptrap DLC from the first Borderlands, but...
relax and get worshipped by a bunch of dudes who look kind of like that douchebag you killed.
What's it say? Claptrap, what are you doing? Shut up!
What? I'm just saying that if you could measure a human being in douchelocities, Handsome Jack would be off the scale.
That's right, they pray to Handsome Jack, which is just exactly like Heart of Darkness. And Heart of Darkness, and of course Apocalypse Now, which is just the American version. It's that the natives... Kurtz goes native. And in Kurtz going native, the natives decide to pray to him like he's some kind of god, and he becomes their chieftain and their leader. And he starts, you know, actively fighting a resistance on his own, above any command, so he has to be taken out. Kurtz in Apocalypse Now is still an American soldier who says the only way we're going to win the war is if we actually live in this country. We have to occupy it permanently and live in the jungle with them. And it's the same exact idea in Heart of Darkness, except it's about Belgium colonialism in the Congo, which Jim Conrad actually experienced. Same idea, though. I streamed yesterday and Walter showed up. Nice. I didn't even notice you streamed. I didn't get a notification. What'd you stream? Mortal Kombat? Yeah, go back and play it to finish him. It's the third one. Nice. Holy crap. You must be digging it then if you're going to do that. Okay, so fill me in about this stuff with the new playlist for the 3. The video I watched didn't go into detail. Well... I'm not ignoring your question, Steven, but if I do answer your question, it's going to spoil the ending of Borderlands 2. Just the main story in Borderlands 2 isn't very long, and it will mostly answer that question, and then we can have a better talk about it. As I say, it kind of spoils the ending of Borderlands 2, if I tell you about the planets. But I don't want to spoil it for you. But... the main thing that I can say without spoiling it is knowing the history of the world, and the history of the Borderlands universe is that the main corporation to find the idea that the Seraphs existed, this ancient alien race, which imprisoned, who were so powerful that they started imprisoning, kind of Battleborn-esque, how the what do they call them? The Varelsi. The Varelsi come out of the portals, and they've been dragging stars into the portals to gain energy for their world that we don't know anything about. Well, the Seraphs are able to, like, know about these other dimensions, right? Yo, Zane Change. Yo, Zane Change. Thank you for taking the red pill. Seeing just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Welcome to reality. Thank you, Zane, for that follow, man. I'm much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you. So all these millions of years ago or whatever, they construct these vaults. And they put all kinds of things in the vaults. They put weapons in the vaults. They imprison monsters basically in the vault, but of varying strength, kind of like the Titans from Godzilla. And those are the weapons. All right, so in Borderlands 1, you know, you played it. You're thinking the whole time you're going to open this vault. There's going to be tons of loot in there, just like the armory in General Knox. Gearbox eventually did give us that, which is why Gearbox listens, and it's cool, and why Borderlands 3 should be great. Anyway, you find out there's not, you know, a room full of gear. It's the Destroyer of Worlds, which is actually the biggest, baddest guy ever. And it wiped out the Seraphs. It took all their energy and their whole civilization out just to imprison him in this vault. Of course, we open it with the key. You can only use the key every 200 years, but we open it, and there's a ton of consequences for that are still going on to this day. Now, the larger point is that Dahl discovered the alien stuff first, and they started making weapons around it and became really successful. They sold well, the weapons were more powerful, they had more effects, so everybody wanted to get in on it. So all the corporations came to Pandora because they knew that this alien technology was there, and it was in the winter. And so the environment was pretty nice, and everybody thrived, and Dahl set up a bunch of mines. Dahl's fucked up, though. They do, like, slave labor and stuff. Hyperion showed up, Atlas showed up. Atlas, the main enemy of Borderlands 1. All to try to get in on this technology and craft new weapons. Well, the winter broke, and this massive summer came, and the summer's vicious. It's, you know, massive drought. And all these animals awake, all these beasts of Pandora awake from hibernation. And so the whole thing went to hell, and within 493 days, we learned from Tannis, they abandoned the planet. Every corporation abandoned the planet, and all the people that they had released, which were like kind of the lowest of the low, kind of the dredges of the Pandoran civilization, were left to fend for themselves. They were completely left behind. They were used as the miners and the workers for the new world, and then all the scientists, except for like Tannis, left. And so shit got really, really bad on Pandora. Except there was still the idea that there was this vault, and so introduce vault hunters. Vault hunters are people like mercenaries, like us, with powers, etc., that don't work for any corporation, but still want to hunt the vaults and get the weapons out of them. Well, because we opened the vault in Borderlands 1, the planet Pandora itself cracks open, which you experience in 2. There's this big scar on the planet, and iridium comes out. And iridium's kind of like Emulsion in Gears of War. It's this really, really vast energy source, and it superpowers Vault Hunters like Lilith and Sirens, has weird effects on Sirens, but it creates the E-Tech guns that you see in Borderlands 2, and it has a bunch of other purposes too. It's an energy source, it's a slag source for weapons, etc. Now that gives you some fundamental stuff of the Borderlands universe. Now, as you beat Borderlands 2, you'll get to kind of know the place of these other planets in this vast array. And remember, all the corporations are always fighting one another for market space and territory. So, like, Promethea in Borderlands 3 is going to be a Maliwan planet. Maliwan and Atlas are in the middle of a corporation war, which happens from time to time in this universe. Atlas was destroyed in Borderlands 1 and comes back with Reese in charge, who's from Tales from the Borderlands. You get to visit Eden 6, which is where the Jacobs live. Jacobs have great audio, too. They're like, you know, it's a family company, and they give this story about how, like, even though it's inaccurate and people insult the weapons, the Jacobs man calmly walks away and turns around and blows the guy's head off, and they're like, it's a family company. Be right back. Thank you for that Nexus cat hype, Tyrell. I appreciate it, man. So I have to try to beat the story next weekend. Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to fill you in with as much as I can, Steven, without spoiling it. Oh yeah, I streamed yesterday. Oh, you streamed Dead by Daylight. Ah, I should have seen that, man. I should have popped in. I'm sorry, Tyrell. Should have seen that. I just thought you were playing the game. I didn't know you were streaming. My bad, dude. The Bob Ross. But Jacobs is also literally a family company. As in they, you know, pass it down from generation to generation. And when you come into Borderlands 3, they're having some kind of conflict. We've never actually actively fought Jacobs. We've only ever helped them, and it looks like we're kind of there on our side in Borderlands 3 as well. But the whole, the family might not be entirely happy with that. So we know that, we know that Seraph's return. We learned that they're going to return from Borderlands, the pre-sequel. If you don't get time to beat that, I'll spoil that one for you, because you probably won't. But also, we know they're back because they run the Proving Grounds. They know a war's coming, so in the pre-sequel, you're trying to prevent all of this. They've seen the future. They've had a vision of the future, and they're trying to prevent all these events from occurring that are going to occur when if Jack is able to meet his purposes, which of course he does. You're not able to prevent these things because you're working on Jack's side to make sure that they happen in the pre-sequel. But the lore's gotten really deep from where it was in Borderlands 1, Steven, where it was, you know, really basic. There was all this history that existed that we just went over, but it was, you know, go here, kill the 10 skags, do this. There was some stuff that was under the surface that we didn't know about, and then it kind of had that crummy ending. But from there, just over the years, over the past 10 years of Borderlands, they've expanded on this lore and this world so much. You can actually sink your teeth into it now. Cool, we're moving through pretty good. Oh, we also know we're going to get events. You know, they're not calling it, Adam and I talked about this, they're not calling it a live service game, thank God, and I hope that they don't, and don't even follow that model. It's good, it's fine to make a sequel. There's no problem with that. It's good, keep telling stories. But, they're still going to obviously keep the game alive and do a lot to keep people going and playing. We get the first new DLC, I think it's in October. I don't know if you're here, Adam, but isn't that right? It's like October. It's really short, just like they did with the first one. Or the second Borderlands, I mean, with this Pirate DLC. But we have a Halloween event, and it looks like we're going back to Jacob's Cove, which is fucking great. Still, that's probably my favorite DLC across any video game ever, is the Undead Island DLC. I think they do Halloween right by Gearbox. And I'm excited to see what they got for that. So I assume that's also going to involve, like, global leaderboards as far as, you know, kill 50,000 Mala-1 super soldiers, kill 50,000 Vladov mercenaries, stuff like that. We're constantly being electrocuted. I hope that answers your question without spoiling it. Oh, we just wasted our gun, Zerk. Oh, protect. Oof. Well, we wasted our gun, Zerk. Dude, no one's even attacking you, dog. This warps. Goodbye. We've already killed everything. That's why nothing's happening. Oh shit, there we go. At least give me something to shoot. It's gonna go in. He's gonna help fight. I will say I hate the scope system though. I'd rather use iron sights. I mean, you can use iron sights. It just depends on the roll you get on the gun, you know? Like, the shotgun's got iron sights. You could get a shotgun with a scope, though. I guess. Here's a perfect example. I'll show you as soon as I maybe get up. Not looking too good, because this fucker keeps running away from me. I've got 2 heralds. We've got them both from random drops. We were farming Jamie Jenkins, we got a herald to drop. I was doing the pirate DLC, I got a herald to drop. These heralds are going to be wildly different. Almost all the guns I have scopes. It's just random. That's Borderlands' thing, is it literally can make billions of guns. Now, you think about it. There were millions of guns that they got a Guinness record in Borderlands 1. And it was just based around like 5 parts. And they upgraded that to like 12 or something for this. It's the grip, it's the body, it's the barrel, it's the under attachment, it's the scope. So this is a Herald. It's getting Kant's iron sights. What is it, Cheese? This one has a scope. It's the same Herald, but it's got different parts. It's still a Herald. That's the base model. And then different manufacturers are tied into it. So it's got a... I'm pretty sure that's a Torgue grip, I think. I used to have these memorized. It's got like a flat-off underbarrel, and then it's got that's probably a Jacob scope or some shit. Then I've got a double penetrating. So the prefix tells you what kind of damage you're going to do and what it's going to look like. This is a really fucking good roll, especially for this level. It's got iron sights. It's got the iron... It's got the laser sight at the bottom. It's got... Looks like a Torgue grip. It's got the looks like a Mala body, and then it has the barrel of Torgue. So they put all these pieces together, and it makes the random gear system. It's especially prevalent outside of legendaries, though, because you find out whatever the base model of the gun is. So this is going to be a Jacobs rifle, all right? It's a spin rifle. But then we got a Torgue barrel, so it shoots grenades. Then it looks like we got a Bandit grip, all right? So it has a much bigger magazine. Then we got a Jacobs body, and it looks like we got a... Looks like a Vladov stock. And so that's going to define what this gun works and operates as. So this game stepped it up. It had many more parts, and it had it on everything. It had it from the shields. The shields were more advanced because they had more parts and more... And also just more basic building blocks to make the shields off of. So whereas there was like 3 different types... Well, there was like 4 or 5 in Borderlands 1. There's like 12 different types of shields in Borderlands 2. And then they did the same thing with the class mod. Now, Borderlands 3 went ahead and notched this whole system, juiced it up as Randy Varnell to 11. I like that, juiced it up to 11, but they really did. Now it's 35 different components per gun. They literally are being serious. It's completely legit. Over 1 billion different kinds of weapons can be generated with the system. Then you have anointed loot on top of that, which is the guns, the grenades, shields, the mods. They've also done a really interesting thing with legendary class mods. There was a few legendary class mods in Borderlands 2. I don't have one on me, but I do have a back at the base. Well, they were like set rules. It was like Slayer Terra Morpheus or Legendary Gunzerker, and I think there was one more. Well, now they've also got that system of randomness into them, and they apply, sort of like Division-esque or Destiny-esque, a whole new skill. So there's two major differences. One, I have a class mod on. Filled to the Brim has +4 in it. Let's go to Filled to the Brim. All right. Because I have a couple points in that, I'm getting that 4+. And of course, I can overfill. But if I didn't have any points in Filled to the Brim, I wouldn't be getting any points. In Borderlands 3, that's different. If you have a mod that gives you points, then you are getting that skill, whether you have points in it or not. Then they have another thing where they'll add whole new skills. Actually, there's 3 things, because 1, you can add to capstones now. You can actually build these up beyond 1, which you could never do before. And then the 3rd thing is, like Destiny or Division, they'll give you a skill, a whole new skill that you can add to your character. So the whole builds and the randomness, I mean, it's like they've gotten into that core Borderlands thing, which is about finding the gun that just really works for you and really enjoying it, starting to feel your character tie together and coming up with a unique build all around these different weapons and gear mods, etc. And they've just dug into that as far as they could possibly dig into it. It's getting side-mounted iron sights where you have a scope on. That's cool. That was a really long way to tell you, Steven, that it's random. Here's my double penetrating unkept Herald with a digital scope. Oh, this one's got a digital scope. Here's my double penetrating unkept Herald with proper... Oh, that's flat off, because the Russian symbol's there. That scope. Alright, here's a shotgun. This shotgun was a random roll. It's got iron sights. Just a really long way of saying it's random. Alright, so here's a Vladov TMP. But double penetrating. It's got a digital scope to it. Now you can't... Maybe they will add a weaponry roll like they had in pre-sequel. It's called the Grinder. But I do know you can skin your weapons now, which is a big thing. Any weapon can be skinned. And the paints are universal, so, you know, you can put a happy face on your shotguns or whatever. Also use the iron key system. I've got a video, it's like a minute 20s with a guide on how to use golden keys. So just get some golden keys and run the chest a few times. You'll probably get an iron sight weapon. Yippee-ki-yay, because we got to get the achievement for gun zerking for 90 seconds. Well, the random generator for me has been poo because all my best guns have all level scopes. Okay. Well, that can definitely happen, but I'm just telling you that it's... You'll get iron sights eventually. It's just RNG. It's RNG. That's Gearbox's thing. It's Diablo with guns. They had two big inspirations for this game. One, they did the port to Halo on PC. Gearbox did. Halo Combat Evolved. Randy Pitchford says they played that, and what they saw was Borderlands. And then they always wanted to play Diablo, but as a first-person shooter. So you're going to see so much Diablo inspiration in Borderlands 2, and you're going to see so much Diablo 3 inspiration in Borderlands 3. Like, they are the Diablo of shooters. That's their whole thing.
Just protect him a while longer.
But you can just about imagine, like, we went over the different components just on each gun. So, like, each manufacturer has, like, different components, different base models, and then you tie them all together to make random guns. So imagine these, like, 5, 10 parts, whatever it is. Imagine 35. That's what they've got now. 35 different parts per manufacturer, per weapon. So, like, 35 different Hyperion rifle parts, 35 different Hyperion sniper parts, and then you can take that to the assault rifle. 35 components per manufacturer. There's, I think it's 10 manufacturers. I mean, there's going to be such an abundance of variety. I don't think you're never going to see that in another shooter. They've doubled, tripled down on this whole procedural system. Oh, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. So you'll definitely find the iron sight weapon. And a good way to play RNG, you'll get some epics if you watch that golden key video I've made. It's a minute 20 long. It'll get you some keys and it'll get you some purple loot. You can roll until you get some iron sights. So here, I just got a random green dual assault rifle. I got the double tap. That's its prefix. So it's going to shoot 2 projectiles for the cost of 1. That's always, in Borderlands, across the franchise, fucking great. It's even stronger in Borderlands 1, and they're reintroducing those guns. The Masher is back. I don't think the Double Anarchy's back, but the Masher is back, which is epic, and it looks fucking sweet. It's got, like, shotgun slugs along the side of the revolver. Looks dope. But, what do we got here? We got a dull magazine. I think this is just, like, pure dull rules. As I say, I used to have these memorized. And I think that's a Vladoff barrel. I think Vladoff always has spin barrels. Point is, it's random as shit. Well, look, it'll have iron sights. That's why I'm looking at that one. My gender spit isn't available. Game sucks. Oh, another Claptrap's dead. Again, I don't understand what Claptrap says are all dead in the universe because they are, like, around on Elpis.
Now to slip back into the warm, comfy Christmas sweater that is my depression. Come on back whenever you're ready, minion.
There's iron sights. So you will... The larger point still stands, you will eventually get your iron sights. Still just a Borak in a cage. I'm assuming we can rerun that. I sure fucking hope so, because our quest to get all the achievements is going to be sorely ruined by that. I don't even know why that would happen. Getting through the Hammerlock DLC today would be really good. Bonus points if we can both basically have this 100% done outside of the raid bosses, because we're going to have to come back and do a boss rush at the end to finish off the achievements. But UVHM. I should be able to hit UVHM today. Hammerlock DLC isn't very long. We want UVHM because we want to overlevel. But I'm going to continue to do DLCs in TVHM because we want to be able to go kill the raid bosses without having the meta all planned out. What's the max inventory space? Oh man, in Borderlands 1, because of some glitches, you can get up to 76. I forget what it is in this. I think you can get up to like 50. It's not very high, actually. It's much, much higher in Borderlands 3, obviously. Just tech limitations. You know, this was on the 360. This game fucking pushed the 360 to the max. This shit was fine, but once you get into the endgame stuff, you get into... Borderlands 2 has a massive issue that becomes very, very bad later on. Not so bad early on, but very bad later on. And it's that it uses exponential scaling. The first game used linear scaling. So it's like level 1 is like 0.5 stronger. Level 2 is like, you know, just very, very, very gradual incline. The problem with that is you could still be using a level 40 double anarchy on level 69 enemies. So it really wasn't that much of a power curve. Borderlands 2, the power curve becomes extreme because in an exponential curve, the larger the numbers become, the larger the next set of numbers is. It's, you know, exponential. 10 to the power 1, whatever. 10 to the power of fucking 100, holy shit. So they kind of solved one problem, but added like 5 more. When you're at level 50, it feels fine. When you're at level 80 and you start OP levels, it's fucking crazy. Stuff starts having... Literally, there's a boss in this DLC that has 14 billion health. I'm not exaggerating. 14 billion with a B. Once you get to OP levels. And so if you didn't use something called Gived, which is how you force your gear in, you can do it on PC easy. You can do it on console too, but I never used it. It means running the story over and over and over again to get exactly perfect uniques for a very, very specific build in order to do the endgame activities. Which is why we won't be bothering with those. But it runs probably fine on the Xbox One, I'm sure. But you can imagine that on the 360 UVHM. So it goes just normal playthrough, and then TVHM, True Vault Hunter mode, and then it goes UVHM, Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. Ultimate Vault Hunter mode is a very strange animal, and it's where the exponential scaling starts to become an issue. All enemies have passive damage resistance. It's like 50%. And they regenerate health. Slag does a 50% damage boost. So in other words, if you want to do damage, you need to slag stuff. So slag becomes mandatory, and then that starts to really limit builds, and that pissed people off alone. I wasn't against it. It was a mechanic. I thought it was a good idea. I thought OP levels were a good idea. It's just... what it actually plays like becomes really annoying. So you go to UVHM if you want to hit level 80. And then from UVHM, they introduced, in the year 2 of content, OP levels. OP levels are not a level up. You don't gain any more skill points. But you run something called Digistruct Peak, which is this, like, linear kind of raid thing. And you fight all the way through this against enemies that are 1 level above you. They're called OP1 and then OP2, etc. And at the end, you fight a raid boss called Binary, which is a bunch of 101s, and it actually says something, but I forget what it is. And if you beat that boss, then you go up an OP level. And then once you get to max OP, the idea was you could farm the Binary boss for guaranteed pearlescent weapons. Well, no one really gives a shit about pearlescents. Like, the Butcher's okay, and there's a couple that are okay, but it's nowhere near what Borderlands 1 was. These were extremely, extremely rare weapons, but they don't fit into the meta of Borderlands 2. Which is strange, because they did in Borderlands 1. They were really strong. Which makes sense, because they're really, really rare. You have another system in here called Seraphs, which are experimental guns, and there are some that are okay, but not really. And you get Seraph crystals for beating raid bosses, and then you can go and you can buy these Seraph weapons. And there was another system that didn't work. So, to give you an example, my favorite example of how the system went wrong. There was a raid boss called Hyperius. He's in the first DLC. At one time, these raid bosses were even going to have weekly lockouts. Like, you see how this green assault rifle can still hold its own? That's not going to happen in UVHM. UVHM, we're going to have a very specific set of weapons that works, and that's going to be it. Anyway, there's this raid boss called Hyperius. He's cool. He's an interesting boss. He's got some neat mechanics to him. But in order to beat him, you really need a Norfleet. You got to drag all his enemies, all these loaders together who generate a shield for Hyperius, and then in order to kill them, you need to group them together so they can't heal one another, and the best way to do that is the Norfleet. Well, the only way to get a Norfleet for the longest time, it was only recently that they changed this, about a year ago, was to kill Hyperius. So, alright. In order to kill Hyperius, you need a Norfleet. Alright, how do I get a Norfleet? You have to kill Hyperius. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It was a catch-22. So if you're, again, as somebody who doesn't use Gib, didn't force your gear in to get, like, the perfect loadout without farming, which I'm not against, by the way. It's a fucking PvE game. You play it however it makes you happy. I mean, it makes the most sense to do that shit, that's for sure. But if you didn't do it, then you were looking at many dozens, hundreds of hours to get properly loaded out, geared out, equipped to even try it. Like Sandhawk, alright, I've got my OP2 Sandhawk. I want to go to OP3 now. Alright, sweet, you did it. You were able to beat it. Now, in order to get my OP3 Sandhawk, I've got to reset my playthrough in UVHM, because you can reset at any time once you get to UVHM. I've got to go run the Pirate DLC. I've then got to dashboard and quit until I get exactly the right prefix on my Sandhawk and get all the right elementals. Now, alright, I got the perfect prefix. Sweet. That's one Sandhawk. Now reset the playthrough. Do it again. Do it 5 times. Now imagine doing that 5 times grind for every unique in the game. And then doing that every single time you want to go up into an OP level. Meanwhile, you still got to get your perfect B. You still got to get your Herald. Now, thankfully, there's an easy way to farm a Herald through the Tor DLC, but your B, still going to try to get a perfect B for your OP level is going to be a process. Now, if you're really good, you don't have to do this every OP level, but every 2 would be ideal. If you watch, like, the OG players do the OP levels when they first came out, OG OP, they're super gibbed out. Like, you watch Gathalion's stuff, which I'm a fan of Gathalion, but ooh, he's actually evolving. We might get a triple O down there. You need a shaman to get a triple O. The shamans are the one who actually upgrade the guys. I'm gonna leave him alone, see what happens. They've got everything. They've got, like, every element of the rapier. They've got every element of the ruby. They've got every element of the Sandhawk. They've got every gun at the perfect roll and exactly the right element for no matter what the situation is. And they're still doing the shooting and they're still winning it, but it's that if you were back on the 360 and you didn't have Willow Tree or access to Willow Tree, you were looking at thousands of hours on those accounts. Thousands of hours that they were able to do in minutes that was going to require players like myself, I'm not kidding you, thousands of hours to actually accomplish. Just for one fucking OP level. So it was a good idea. It was a good challenge. It was interesting, and they always learn from these things. It was their first real attempt at a raid. There was a lot of interesting mechanics exposed to it. It was a true endgame activity. It was hard as hell. It required you to really know the game, understand every in and out of, from health gating to what's the right build, what's the right roll, what's the right item for the right situation, like really know it. But it was at the same time fundamentally flawed. But they're correcting a lot of that with Borderlands 3. I mean, just the fact that, like, you keep leveling after level 50, for instance, is massive. Every game should include a system like that. I don't know why Anthem doesn't have a system like that. You need to, once someone hits the max level, you have to continue to offer them progress. It's so important to any role-playing game, in my opinion. Whether it be challenges or whatever, but it's got to be there. And so you level up past 50 in Borderlands 3, and it goes into Guardian rank. And there's a whole nother skill tree, and that goes up forever. As much as you want to put into it, that's what you're going to get back. That, to me, is exactly how you do it. And it's totally not my idea. It was inspired from Borderlands 2 doing Guardian rank. I thought that was super ahead of its time. I just don't know why once Gearbox did that, any other game wouldn't have a system like that. Because to me, it makes perfect sense. I think Anthem needs it so bad. Anthem needs post-level progression. So bad. Outside of gear score. Yeah, but so we're like, oh, we're able to still do damage with this double tap green dual assault rifle. UVHM, OP levels, this thing's fucking trash. Anything's trash. Which is another reason it's fundamentally flawed. This is a game that's about getting tons and tons of guns and trying them out. So like you're talking about how you don't really like your guns right now. You're eventually gonna find a gun you really love, and then that's Borderlands. It's like, oh, this thing's sweet. I hope I get another drop like that. Oh, I wonder if I can build around this gun. My nephew had that experience when we were playing pre-sequel last night. He found a revolver he really, really liked. He found a revolver he really liked, and suddenly he was up, he was jumping up and down, he was having tons of fun where he didn't want to play anymore, he wanted to do more quests. I remember that happened to Seth with Borderlands 1. He found this Lightning SMG, a Mala 1 SMG. He had a Mordecai, and he was just instantly hooked. And so, like, that's what's special about this game. That's the magic. And the OP levels forgo that. Because only very set things work.
We're gonna skate to one song only.
Yo, hey. Watch out. Here we go. Show the Reaper! What up, Ashton? Thank you for being here. Welcome to the stream. Ashton's a Marine. He's really good at games, especially team-based games. He's going to be playing Borderlands 3 on stream as well as Amari, as far as I know. Check him out. Check him out. He plays a lot of Anthem, plays a lot of different games. He's a good streamer. He's a good guy. Anthem needs a Hail Mary and a new playbook. Elaborate on that, Ashton, please. Thought I equipped this. These witch doctors could give us a triple O, but it ain't gonna happen. So rare, and we needed a second wind. What is over here? I'm missing the thing. This is like the next to last quest in the Hammerlock DLC, by the way. It's really short. There's a pretty hard boss at the end.
Yes, that's one of my mysterious DNA samples. The life force of my...
That's one sample destroyed. I can practically smell the...
So I guess this is maybe where they were planning on bringing Handsome Jack back. The fact that Nagasaki had the DNA samples. Alright, so here's another example of what you can't do in UVHM. Though, the Muck-a-Muck actually remains a pretty fucking good weapon, actually. Like, OP in the UVHM, you can still use a Muck-a-Muck. OP levels, eh. But Muck-a-Muck is gold standard Jacobs sniper rifles. The Cataclysm is a great step forward, but there's nothing there. I've been hitting it hard. I saw you keep playing Anthem. What's got you into it so good? It's so much, I should say, not so good. How are you feeling about the Apex Legends ranked grind, Ashton? Because I'm thinking about it. Like, our time is gonna be pressed, as you know. I've missed it. I remember this has happened every time I've done this DLC ever. Just way overran all the objectives. Per usual, you just get in that path of like, I'm just killing shit. I'm just killing shit. I'm just killing shit. I'm just killing shit. I would have to move my camera. Cleaned out my PC over the weekend, like I said, and my setup got a little moved around a little bit. Moved around. But it's empty marking time. There's new story, new areas, raids, things to play for. Definitely things to play for, I agree with that. I uploaded my capstone to it, my review on it. I feel fine with it, and I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with that game. I'll come back eventually again, probably. Start card in D4, I win a few, then lose a few. All that 3 or 4 matches. Yeah, I've been pretty fucking down on the range grind after I lost those 30 points. Like, I'm not gonna be a bitch and whine about it. It's just kind of like... I'd rather play this right now. Yeah. That sums it up. I just would rather play this. Rather than sit there and get really pissed. Or, well, frustrated. Really frustrated and feel defeated and get off the stream and feel like, man, I fucking suck at games. Like, I could just be killing some monsters right now, chilling out. A coworker and I both play as kids play, so I have a group, but other than raising my pilot level, there's nothing. All with Anthem. I want Anthem to be great. As I said, I made a capstone on it. Here's the gist of the capstone. It has amazing combat. If you could just back that combat with any kind of Diablo or Borderlands or any fucking role-playing features at all that are really make you want to keep digging in and reward continued play, dude, I'm in.